The grand ballroom of the Al Rashid Palace shimmered like a dream made of diamonds. Crystal chandeliers cast waves of light across the marble floors as laughter echoed through the luxurious hall. Waiters moved like shadows, balancing trays of golden plates and champagne glasses for the wealthy elite who lived in a world far above ordinary people. Amid this world of elegance and arrogance stood Amal, a humble maid in a navy blue uniform, her hands trembling as she tried to blend into invisibility. It was supposed to be just another evening of cleaning and serving, but that night, fate had something cruel in store. The host, Sheikh Tariq al-Rashid, a young Arab millionaire known for his charm and ruthless pride, noticed the shy maid as she accidentally brushed past a mannequin wearing a breathtaking red evening gown. The gown clung perfectly to the figureless form, a creation so flawless it seemed made for royalty. Tariq smirked, his laughter booming across the hall. "If you can fit in that dress," he said mockingly, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'll marry you myself." The room burst into cruel laughter. Guests covered their mouths, and some even recorded the moment. Amal froze, her cheeks burning, her eyes filling with humiliation. She was heavier, her figure far from the slim silhouettes around her. She lowered her head, clutching the edge of her apron as laughter rang in her ears. Tariq turned away, smirking, thinking he had said something witty. For him, it was a passing joke. For Amal, it was a wound that would change her life forever. Sparkling heart, if you believe in kindness, transformation, and the power of true love, please like, comment, and subscribe to Ripple of Love. Let's spread hope together. Sparkling heart. That night, Amal cried in the small servant quarters behind the palace. The laughter still echoed in her mind as she stared at herself in the cracked mirror. The words replayed like poison. If you fit in that dress. She hated that her worth had been reduced to her body. She hated that she had let them make her feel small. But above all, she hated that part of her still wished she could prove him wrong. The next morning, she made a silent promise to herself. Not for Tariq, not to earn his respect or his love, but for her own dignity. She wanted to become someone who could look in the mirror and no longer see shame. Amal began waking up before dawn. She started walking through the palace gardens before anyone else was awake, then jogging, then running. The first few days were agony. Her feet blistered, her lungs burned, and her body ached. Yet, each sunrise reminded her that she was changing, one painful step at a time. She gave up sweets and rich leftovers from the kitchen. Instead, she saved her small wages to buy fruits, vegetables, and oats. Her coworkers laughed at her at first. Why bother? They would say. But Amal just smiled quietly. She wasn't chasing anyone's approval. She was chasing her own peace. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, her body began to change. Her clothes loosened. Her face began to glow. Even her spirit transformed. She smiled more, walked taller, and carried a quiet strength that no one could take away. But life had a way of testing those who dared to rise. One morning, Amal found out her younger brother back in her village had fallen seriously ill. She sent him nearly all her savings for his treatment, leaving herself almost nothing. Still, she didn't give up. She continued working harder, taking double shifts, cleaning longer hours, and even running errands late at night. Her hands cracked from detergents, her back hurt constantly, but her heart was stronger than ever. And through it all, she never forgot the red dress. It wasn't just fabric and thread anymore. It had become a symbol of her battle, her pain, her rebirth. 6 months later, the Al Rashid family hosted another grand event, a charity gala for the elite. The same ballroom, the same chandeliers, the same mocking smiles. Amal, still a maid, was tasked with helping backstage. But this time, her coworkers couldn't stop whispering about her transformation. She was slimmer, glowing, and graceful, almost unrecognizable. When Tariq entered the hall that evening, surrounded by wealthy guests and laughter, he didn't notice her at first. But something caught his eye, a woman walking past with quiet elegance, her posture straight, her eyes steady. For a moment, he thought she was a guest, until he realized who it was. It was her, Amal, the maid he had humiliated. Tariq blinked in disbelief. He couldn't understand how the shy, overweight servant he once mocked now carried herself with the poise of a queen. But what truly struck him was not her physical transformation, it was the calm, fearless light in her eyes. The event continued, and the centerpiece once again was the same red gown, displayed proudly under golden light, symbolizing beauty and confidence. Tariq watched as Amal quietly approached it, her expression unreadable. Someone whispered to her, half-jokingly, "You remember what he said that night, don't you?" Amal smiled gently. "Yes," she replied, "and tonight, I'm ready to face it." Curiosity rippled through the crowd. Some guests gathered closer, intrigued by the scene. Amal asked for permission to try on the dress. The designer, recognizing her quiet determination, nodded. The ballroom fell silent as Amal disappeared behind the curtains. Minutes passed like hours. Tariq's heart pounded for reasons he couldn't explain. He remembered his cruel laughter, his arrogance, the humiliation he caused. For the first time, he felt shame. Then, the curtains parted. Amal stepped out, wearing the same red gown. It fit her perfectly, not tight, not loose, perfectly. The satin hugged her figure gracefully, the neckline framed her glowing skin, and her eyes sparkled with quiet victory. She wasn't the same woman who once stood trembling in humiliation. She was radiant, proud, and free. The room erupted in stunned silence. Then came the gasps, the applause, the whispers. But Amal wasn't looking at anyone, she was looking straight at Tariq. He stood frozen, unable to speak. His throat tightened. He wanted to say something, to apologize, to take back every cruel word he had spoken. But Amal simply smiled, not with arrogance, but with forgiveness. "You once said you'd marry me if I fit into this dress," she said softly, her voice calm yet powerful. "But I don't need that anymore. Because I've already found what I was searching for, my self-worth." The crowd fell silent again, but this time, not from shock, from awe. The millionaire who once mocked her now stood humbled, his head bowed slightly. Amal turned and walked away, her steps echoing like thunder across marble. That night, the red dress became more than just a gown, it became a legend. Days passed, and rumors spread throughout the city. People spoke of the maid who transformed her pain into power, who wore courage like a crown. Tariq couldn't get her out of his mind. He sent word, trying to meet her, to apologize, but she refused every invitation. She had moved on, found a better job as a designer's assistant, and eventually started working on her own clothing line, one that celebrated beauty in all shapes and sizes. Months later, at a charity fashion show, Tariq finally saw her again. She was standing backstage, surrounded by models wearing her creations. She greeted him politely but with distance. Tariq looked at her, humbled. "Amal," he said softly, "you were right. You didn't need my approval, but I needed your forgiveness." Amal smiled. "You're forgiven," she said, "because your cruelty gave me strength." Her words hit him harder than any punishment could. He realized that the greatest wealth wasn't his money, his fame, or his power. It was the courage to change, the grace to forgive, and the strength to rise from humiliation with dignity. Amal's designs went on to inspire women across the Middle East and beyond. Her story became one of resilience, faith, and self-love. She built a life filled with purpose, not revenge. Dizzy, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to Ripple of Love. Let's remind the world that kindness, faith, and courage can change any destiny. Dizzy.